Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the 4th International Humans in Space Summit. My name is Paul Hawkins. I'm going to be your host for the 2 days. And we've got a riveting program for you over the next few hours this morning up until the break. I'm going to kick off this morning just with a little housekeeping. So in case you are unaware of this, the tea is set up outside. You may have seen that as you came in. We also have fire exits behind you to your right and left, and another one just behind me here on stage, which hopefully we won't need to use at all today. Lunch will be upstairs in the Universal Cafe, and I've got on screen here for you the Wi-Fi service and password. So if you need to use that, just note what that is now. All right, and then I just want to take an opportunity at the front just to thank our sponsors, which we now have on screen. Thank you so much for your support. And I'm going to call on Professor Deen Sanders to do the acknowledgement of country. Deen, if you would.
I'm just looking for our screen that's disappeared on me there, Govinda. While I'm doing that, and I realise I'm out of camera, here's this little thing here, this little tiny thing here. Look, I did want to welcome everybody to the International Humans in Space Summit. I must say I love that title. I'm not sure who came up with it, or if it's a play on the pigs in space idea, or is that just horribly dating me? For those of you who don't know anything about the Muppets, as part of that whole idea of how we might think about our relationship with space. But even the naming of an event like the International Humans in Space Summit conjures for me an image of a room full of non-humans somewhere, pretty much having the same conversation. Exactly the same conversation happened today. Tim's joining us in this thing. Do you want me to hear those things? I'm controlling a whole raft of different things on the screen. I'm sure Govinda's got that under control. And that's a bit weird, the idea of non-humans gathering in space to talk about humans in space, if we think about that sort of reverse idea. But it's also an important place to start in a conversation like this. Because on the one hand, a conference like this opens up a whole lot of discussion about what do we mean when we say humans in space? Why do humans think we have a role in space? And what about the non-humans in space? As you'll no doubt hear through this event, there are legal concepts at play here. There are economic concepts and business concepts, political and military concepts, as well as, of course, robotic and technology ones. But I'm here to talk about the human ones. And when I say human ones, I mean the cultural ones that have given us the language of the stars and shaped our relationship to them. For hundreds of thousands of years, that humanity has stared into them, giving them life, giving them meaning through all of our fragile frame of reference as human beings. I'm officially here, as Paul said, to give an acknowledgement of country. As Warramai man from the mid-north coast of New South Wales, a couple of hours up the road, I would like to, this is not my country. So as a consequence, I need to give an acknowledgement rather than welcome to country. So I want to acknowledge the fact that we are here today on Gadigal country, the present name of Sydney. And I'd like to acknowledge the ancestors of this country and yours, wherever you are from, whether you're joining us from, in the way of my community, in the language of my community, the Gatang language. It's Yaran. My name is Deen Sanders. Warramai man. I'm joining you from Gadigal country today. But not in Yaran Marambarigal, not in Yaran Marandangagal. I want to acknowledge the elders of the country that you're all from, and the elders of the country that we are joining from today. When you born, you began, it always was Aboriginal land, this country we stand on. When you born, you began, it always is home, it always is Aboriginal land. Mulungu, thank you. I also acknowledge any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders or Indigenous peoples wherever you are joining us from across the globe, because uniquely, in fact, and part of, I guess, the story I want to tell you this morning is that Indigenous communities have a unique relationship with space on behalf of all of us, because we've been staring at them for a long time, as has everybody's people. But we have a direct relationship with those stories. They mean something to us quite specifically. And I think acknowledgement of country is an interesting way to have that conversation. Because acknowledgement of a country, you may know, is a sort of a seeking of permission. You know, we're seeking protection to come into someone else's country. This acknowledgement that we are learners in that moment and that we're ready to respect the knowledge and the wisdom that others have of this country. So when it comes to space, we're all on someone else's country. It's not ours. It's not the government's. It's not the plaything of business. We are all of us, every human drawn to the stars. There is shared human experience, and all of our cultures collectively have stories about them. But still, the stars are not ours. Space belongs to all of us, and it belongs to none of us. In my culture, we know the stars to be agentic, to have life and meaning of their own. My old people have told stories about those stars and the spaces in between those stars longer than any other civilization in the world. And they're not just stories of myth and legend and something to share around a campfire. They're exercises in science, in mapping and astronomy, seasonal management and ceremonial cycles. To us, the sky above is not empty. It's not space nullius, and that's worthwhile spending a moment thinking about. It's a mirror of our life here. Sky camp to this earth camp. They're inextricably linked, and we occupy the spaces in between those relational worlds. The connecting space in between them, in between shiny objects in our culture, is what draws our eye, just like the dark emu you'd be familiar with as space enthusiasts in the Milky Way. It's the dark between the light that tells the story. It's the space in between the bright lights that matters, because that space is alive. All things in space have story, and all things are given story, and purpose, of course. It's taken our people tens of thousands of years to build those stories, to map and encode the artifacts of space in ways still being understood by Western science. The 60 years government and corporations have spent hurling things into space is a single breath in the life of our 100,000-year-old culture, and even less in the full life of humanity that we're here to talk about through this event. That space, those stars, they're the library of humanity's collective science and culture, encoded with knowledge about navigation, about humanity and law, and that library is being changed before our eyes, sometimes for the better, but not always. And we're in an important moment for humanity. Like all great moments, it's full of wonder, opportunity, and worry. There is worry, because our history tells us that money, power, ego, and individualism are primary motivators, and they're knocking at the door. But there's also wonder and opportunity, because the power of collective aspiration and human imagination is the real driving force behind everyone in this room. That's why you are gathered. So how do we make sure we do this right? That's the challenge for you. I get to come in and put the challenge and go away and look forward to the answer. How do we assert ourselves? How does humanity speak for space? Not just for humanity, but for space. Well, that is a challenge for this audience, and for all of us as participants in the space economy and the space humanity. I'm a partner at Deloitte. It might sound like an odd thing in terms of this conversation I've just been having with you, but we very proudly sponsor this event because we believe these conversations are important and the solutions they will generate are needed to help us all. Commercial players, government players, and human beings navigating our way through these collective moments. I'm also a cultural man, or I'm a man, as I said before. And to my culture, space is alive. The stars, the planets, the moon, and even, as I said, the space in between. It's all alive. The more science discovers, the more science becomes close to understanding what we already know. It is teeming with meaning and agency and life. And we have the hubris to think it's ours to discover or conquer or exploit, to explore and to monetize. Well, that way lies the trap of colonialism, and we are well versed in the consequences of that across the globe. Exploration with the purpose of acquisition or exploitation is a system to be wary of for all of us as human beings. Even if we think we are acting for all humanity, it is risky to the non-humans, because who will speak for them? And time is rushing on us. In the world of technology, even stories only 60-year-old are erased or forgotten. as we rush to 100,000 satellites in a single span of breath. The skies don't forget, and nor do those of us with 100,000 years of collective memory and story. It's early in the conference, and I need to dangle some optimism and glimmering hope of possible solutions. So there is hope. I believe it deeply, but it isn't in the lab. It isn't in political offices. It isn't in boardrooms. They're not likely to come from the state. They'll come from you. They'll come from us. They're the same solutions our shared ancient cultures have always advocated, recognizing that our human role is a custodial one, a caring one, a responsible one. Australia has an important role to play here. As home to the world's oldest continuous culture, we have tools that can help us in the global humanity conversation. Despite my concerns about the risks I've mentioned to you, I am optimistic about the role of humanity in space because everyone is here for the right reason. I also applaud the Space Agency and the New South Wales Government and firms like mine for their commitment to these conversations. That's tangible, it's real, it sponsors, it engages, it brings us together for these conversations. Together as a business and leadership community, we are actively working on cultural protocols and ways of ethically working in space. And I'm excited to see those negotiations take shape. These are real conversations that are happening outside of the labs, that are happening on country, in dialogue together. In fact, I encourage you to reach out, any of you to reach out to me if you want to have a yarn about those things, or even in fact stop by our stand to the team up here today who are already interested in that, can share you and take you in the right direction. I hope you have a great conference. And I hope you keep in mind that as humans in space, we are also responsible for those non-human, agentic wonders that we have cared for since humans looked into the stars and saw their destiny. Marangu. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean, for a provocative and very human start to our Humans in Space Summit. Our next speaker this morning, in fact, just before I do that, I'd like to introduce Pepe, our timekeeping dragon. So it was the perfect segue, speaking about non-humans. Pepe appears for our speakers when you have about a minute to go, and you really don't want to make Pepe angry. Believe me, it's not a nice guy when he gets to that stage. So our next speaker this morning is responsible for things as exotic as space strategy and space programs. So I've got the pleasure in introducing our next speaker, who is Aude Venier, the Chief Technology Officer of the Australian Space Agency. Thank you, Aude.
Thank you for the kind introduction. It's terrific to be with you today. Thank you for the welcome to country as well. I too would like to acknowledge the traditional owner of the land on which we are meeting today. The land is theirs, has always been and will always be. As the Chief Technology Officer of the Space Agency, my role, the role of my team and I is to lift the capability of the Australian space sector. We are mapping and we are creating opportunities to propel our homegrown technology onto the global stage. The space domain is rich with commercial and research opportunities for space and non-space technologies alike. These opportunities are growing rapidly. According to Euroconsult, the global space market totaled $370 billion last year, and it's expected to grow 70% by 2030. But it's more than just an economic proposition. Space and our desire to innovate and explore pushes the boundaries of what is possible, and it contributes back in so many ways to our everyday lives. This summit builds on that very contrast, on how to explore out there in space can make life better down here on Earth. Australia is already carving out its niche in applied space medicine and life science, or SMLS as we'll call it, and also as the foundation to become a regional player in human spaceflight. SMLS has become one of the 7 strategic areas of priorities for the Space Agency. By becoming a destination that can support human spaceflight, Australia can enter new supply chains. This includes business activities such as human launch facilities and return services, manufacturing, refurbishment, payload development, training, and medical support services. Human spaceflight can also include scientists being able to fly with their experiments for advancing medical, life science, and material developments and point-to-point transport. All of these things are being explored by the agency, particularly through the development of our Access to Space roadmap. My team is also working on the final touches of the SMLS roadmap after extensive consultation across government, industry, and academia. And several of you today have actually are member of our technology advisory group, a body of experts in the field who have helped developing this roadmap. And I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you all for your contribution. We have world-leading experience delivering healthcare in remote and extreme environments, both across Australia and in Antarctica. For example, the Australian Antarctic Division has collaborated with international space agencies to develop strong heritage in space analog activities over many decades. Australian industry is already demonstrating strategic interests in developing commercial and clinical SMLS capabilities. Multiple Australian academic and clinical institutions are collaborating internationally for a wide range of space-related disciplines, including circadian physiology, somatosensory physiology, microgravity effects, radiation dosimetry and shielding, musculoskeletal effects of spaceflight, nanotechnology, environmental monitoring, cellular biology, robotic surgery, and psychology. Others have also partnered with industry to develop and send research payloads to space for life science experiments and technology developments. Australia can further benefit from transferable capabilities because effective medicine access, sustainable food production, and efficient medical data processing are important to remote communities, both on Earth and in space. For example, the medical technologies and pharmaceutical sector is growing in Australia and represented the nation's 8th largest export in 2019. Additionally, Australia's agriculture industry is world-renowned and estimated to grow to $200 billion by 2030 and underpins the development of novel solutions in nutrition. You may have heard last week that the Australian Research Council announced the Centre for Excellence for Plants in Space, which will help to establish a long-term presence in space while also developing innovation on Earth. To fully capitalize on this strength, the national industry must maintain and advance its competitive edge on a global scale. The agency is committed to opening doors internationally for Australian organizations in this field. SMLS is identified as a priority area for collaboration in Australia's MOU with every single international space agency. And enacting this collaboration, in addition to provide access to space for SMLS payloads, will unlock significant opportunities to both undertake research and contribute to international supply chain. The Australian Space Agency is also backing local research in SMLS through our International Space Initiative and our Moon to Mars initiative. A few examples include Raytracer for its underwater virtual reality training simulations for astronauts, the University of Canberra's VertiSense mitigation of sensorimeter effects of simulated weightlessness, Human Aerospace for spacesuits for preserving human health and mobility, including a skin suit deployed twice beforehand on the ASS. Since joining the Australian Space Agency almost 4 years ago now, it's been amazing to see the transition we have made as a sector, how rapidly our industry continues to grow, and the incredible space technologies that Australia is producing. We are building our reputation as a competitive and talented space nation. What we are focusing on at the Space Agency is working to support the building of the critical mass in capability, investments, and ecosystem needed to ensure the sustainable growth. I thank you all, and I look forward to what comes out of this summit. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ord. And I think it must be very satisfying to reflect on just how far the Australian Space Agency has come in a relatively short period of time. Very pleasing to hear the array of things that are underway in our space industry. So thank you for that. Our next speaker this morning is the Executive Director of Investment Partnerships at Investment New South Wales. Please join me in welcoming to the stage Maroon El-Khoury.
Morning, everyone. My name is Maroon El-Khoury, Executive Director of Investment Partnerships at Investment New South Wales. Investment New South Wales is proud to support the International Humans in Space Summit and the groundbreaking work of its founder, Dr. Joshua Chow and his team. The continued growth of this summit is testament to the significant potential of space biology and medicine. Investment New South Wales is here to support that growth. Nationally, Australia is a thriving medical research industry. 50 pharmaceutical companies, 400 biotechnical companies, and 500 medical technology companies. And over 100 of these are listed on the Australian Stock Exchange. When you consider the global space sector is forecast to reach over $1.1 trillion by 2040, and the Australian medtech sector already generating $6.1 billion each year, the New South Wales government is committed to these sectors and motivated to maintain an environment conducive to their growth. New South Wales continues to invest in these two priority industries, and we are proud that New South Wales is home to the largest space and medtech industries in the country. New South Wales is the clear and logical choice for space and medtech, and those driving R&D and innovations that combine these two elements. The New South Wales government's capital investment in health is $10.1 billion over 4 years. And our state boasts more than 10 dedicated health precincts with world-renowned research institutions, state-of-the-art medical facilities supported by a comprehensive health ecosystem. The co-location of major hospitals with major university campuses and medical research institutes offers an unparalleled opportunity for industry to engage with research communities in developing treatments and innovations that bring them to market. When you consider New South Wales is home to 41% of Australian space businesses, world-class space research and development, and around 30% of the Australian space industry workforce, and over half of all space-related revenue generated in Australia, it is clear that New South Wales has space to grow. The New South Wales government continues to support initiatives focused on the full life cycle of innovative, high-growth businesses in priority sectors, including medtech, defence, and aerospace. Among the initiatives to support the medtech industry, these include the Medical Device Fund, the Commercialisation Training Program, the Medical Research Support Program. The New South Wales Department of Health also offers a range of scholarships and fellowships to support the development of talent and skills in the medtech industry. A further $25 million is being invested into a new world-leading advanced viral vector manufacturing facility in the Westmead Health and Innovation District. In the space sector, the New South Wales government has committed over $28 million to support the sector, including the National Space Industry Hub, which includes physical space, resources, mentoring, and connections for emerging space ventures and researchers. The Space Qualification Mission, launching Australia's first rideshare satellites. The New South Wales SmartSat Cooperative Research Centre node, supporting industry and research collaborations to solve valuable industry problems via the commercialisation of space-related technologies. The New South Wales Space Research Network, enhancing space industry capabilities through collaboration between New South Wales government and universities, and an Australian Satellite Manufacturing Hub, Australia's first satellite manufacturing hub for larger Earth observation satellites of up to 500 kilograms in weight, which will be established in the New South Wales at the South Jerrambomberra Regional Jobs Precinct and the UTS Tech Labs in Botany. And we didn't stop there. We are supporting government departments through the Deloitte Gravity Challenge and how they can access space to be more efficient. And by doing so, we are creating procurement opportunities for our local space sector. And finally, we're proud to highlight that you will be able to showcase your world-class capabilities to over 6,000 delegates at the International Astronomical Congress in 2025, right here in Sydney. I'd like to take the opportunity to thank you all for allowing me to speak to you today, and I hope you will continue to partner with and grow your organisations here in New South Wales. Please enjoy the remainder of the summit. Thank you.
Thanks, Marina. I think partnerships are so important. We can't do space by ourselves. And our next speaker represents one of our most important partners, both on Earth and in space. Please join me in welcoming to the stage the Consul-General of Japan in Sydney. Thank you.
Yes, okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Shuichi Tokita, Japanese Consul-General. Just recently arrived 6 weeks ago, so I'm a newcomer from Tokyo. And I'd like to thank the University of Technology Sydney for hosting this exciting summit today. Also, let me extend my gratitude to the Australian Space Agency, New South Wales Government, Deloitte, and all those involved in organizing this conference. It is an honor to be part of such a wonderful event. Space always fascinates us. What is still fresh in my memory is the excitement brought by the success of the Hayabusa 2 mission. As you all may know, the Hayabusa 2 project was an asteroid sample return mission operated by JAXA. The sample return capsule safely landed in Woomera in South Australia in December 2020. The news was very much welcomed in Japan, very enthusiastically, bringing joy and hope to the Japanese public in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic. Around the time, Australia's border was still closed for international visitors, and there were a number of unexpected challenges the mission faced. Thanks to great assistance and coordination provided by the Australian Space Agency, JAXA experts and NASA supporting safely arrived on site and successfully retrieved the capsule. The accomplishment of the Hayabusa 2 mission reaffirmed the strong partnership between Japan and Australia. The sample from the asteroid, which is believed to be 4.6 billion years old, was brought back from South Australia to Japan for research and analysis. There have already been many exciting findings and more to come. Exploring the vast field of space is something that cannot be accomplished by a single entity, and more collaborations are underway. As the Japan-Australia Summit meeting in Perth last month, Prime Minister Kishida and Prime Minister Albanese confirmed the in-principle support for Australia to be the landing site for the Japan Martian Moon's exploration capsule. The leaders of two countries welcomed the strong collaboration in space science research activities. Many multilateral projects are in progress. There has been a discussion to send a Japanese astronaut to the moon in the future, and one of the international programs frameworks led by NASA. Also, private companies are increasing active in the space sector. I'm very pleased to see several Japanese companies representatives here today. And as a final word, I hope you take the most of this opportunity to connect with each other and get inspirations for your further and future projects together. Have a good conference. Thank you.
I just worked with some technical difficulties.
So thank you so much, Shuchi. Our next speaker is a person who's studied very widely across fields of medicine, law, business, humanities, and education. She is also a mind-blowing walking encyclopedia of everything to do with space and space medicine. Please join me in welcoming one of our co-founders of International Humans in Space, Dr. Rowena Christensen.
Thank you so much, Paul, for that very kind welcome. And on behalf of the organising committee of the International Humans in Space Summit 2022, I would like to welcome you to our 5-day mission to explore strange new worlds, seek out new life for new civilizations, and boldly go where no one has gone before. This week, we're calling together sentient beings from all around planet Earth to reflect on the 60-year history of human spaceflight and where this great adventure will take us next, from the edge of space through low Earth orbit, into the moon, to Mars, and beyond. Jurassic Park famously told us that life will find a way, and in order for humans to survive and thrive in space, the most extreme of all environments, both fragile life forms and the technology needed to support them must be able to function optimally, from the simplest biochemistry through to an holistic view of good health and well-being. Just as it takes a village to raise a child, it takes a huge team of willing and dedicated people across many disciplines to launch a single successful space mission. Although we can't all achieve our cherished childhood dream of becoming an astronaut, we can make a tangible contribution through the work we do on the ground to support space activities and to inspire a diverse and inclusive next generation to aspire to space-based careers. Our 5-day mission presents a unique opportunity to share your passion for space with like-minded individuals and to learn from inspirational people all around the globe. There is a place for everyone in our crew, from the most experienced to the newbies. We are proud to be able to present a low-cost, accessible conference and to be fundraising to support the wonderful work of UNICEF. We are glad that you'll be accompanying us on our mission to the second star to the right and straight on till morning. Thank you.
And now I'm going to ask Rowena's co-founder, Professor Josh Chow, to please join us on the stage. Thank you, Josh.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for coming. I'd just like to thank everyone for your support. We have a really wonderful program of speakers from both Australia and the international community. I really want to thank, first of all, our sponsors and our supporters to allow us to make this really happen. And I know, right now, this room is filled with, people from more locally. But we also want to share with everyone that our conference has actually grown significantly in the last 4 years. I did all the registrations for everyone, so I did all your name tags, so I actually feel like I know every single one of you. So hopefully by the end of this meeting, I'll be able to come and speak with everyone and get to know you. I think, this community is really, really great because the fact that you're here, the fact that the speakers are willing to come and speak is a testament to the type of characters and the humanity of these speakers. I had a lot of gratitude emails from last year's conference in which people were able to connect with one another through this platform. And that's what we really envision and hope to do through our conference, is to really bring a multidisciplinary team of experts to come together to solve all the challenges that is required for human spaceflight. And more importantly, how we translate those technology for advancing human healthcare. I think we're seeing the era of more humans being in space, but the challenges and the things we need to solve is yet remain for us to solve. So really what we gathered here today, you can see that it requires a village to raise a child. So it's really great that we can all come together like this. I can also share with you that the people that are attending virtually are from all spectrum of different industry from across the world. Even though we have about 120 guests here in person today, there's about 600 joining us virtually from all areas of the world. And I can definitely tell you that the shift in the types of attendance is a really balance from academics, researchers, and more industry. I can say every space agencies out there has a representative that has registered to look at what we're doing, as well as many very well-established firms and establishment. So we're starting to see this, emergence of human spaceflight, what's involved, and more importantly, how it can be used for betterment of human health, both for human space exploration and down here on Earth. So I just want to thank everyone again for your support. It's going to be a roller coaster of a few days, but I'm pretty sure and confident that we will be able to take a lot back to think about. And the reason we host this towards the end of the year is because at the end of the year is a time where we reflect on what we've done, and more importantly, we start to plan for next year. So I think this is a good way to end the year in which we can have a think about what we can do and the possibility and opportunities that lies ahead for us. So thank you again, and hope you enjoy the conference.